All right, we are Group 8, just doing Week 12 Skyhook Wireless case study. So the first question it has is just, as a group, what grade would you give Morgan for how he pursued Skyhook and why?
As far as a letter grade,
That's what I was going to say. Did I miss something about grades? Because I'm like, or that's just as far as the letter grade goes, right?
yeah, I mean, I think I would say that he did a fairly good job. I mean, I would give him, B plus, A minus range.
Yeah.
It seems like he didn't really have a good idea going in what he wanted to do with this company. But, again, if you follow the business model, Canvas, you kind of, you should go in with sort of a uh, fluid idea that you can kind of bend to whatever your market decides they want. So, it's kind of what he did.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I definitely think at the start it's definitely an A for working hard, but the whole like working hard, working smart, they lost a little bit on working smart because, yeah, it was just like, we can do something with Wi-Fi location, right? We're like,
mhm.
probably, but what? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly. It's like, well,
Quit your job. Let's do it. Like,
we
yeah, so
we
they
think
were,
this is going to be really big, but we just don't know who to sell it to or how much to charge or if they'll pay. But
yeah,
I mean, in other aspects, though, I mean, they really did kind of work smart too, in that they paid $2,000 for an MVP that cost Navtech
yeah,
200 million. Um, they were able to utilize some really kind of creative ways to map the United States and even Europe and Asia
yeah,
for literally pennies on the dollar. I mean, Navtech said they spent 200 million a year just maintaining their database, and these guys are $10 million to map
yeah.
all of the United States and most of Asia and Europe. So I mean, that's really not that bad. And they were pretty frugal, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. I did think that part was cool where during some of their funding where he was able to basically get the funding because he was staying at the cheapest hotel in the city.
Yeah, that's kind
Let
of
me use
interesting.
that. I like this guy.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, yeah, that's true. Their frugality definitely came into play many times, but I guess, yeah, I feel like everything's kind of like two-sided because it's like they worked really
Mhm.
hard, maybe not super smart. They were super frugal, but it's because they had to. They were living on a friend's couch and applying for welfare at the end of it. So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they were
Exactly.
super good by necessity, and the necessity was a little caused by themselves. Like, but yeah, I was definitely impressed, and this was one that I just thought, the guy that started out meeting in like the lake house, and then they're like, he sold the lake house for apartment. He stopped paying
Mhm.
apartment to live on his buddy's couch. Like, you guys both have technical degrees, and you're living on a couch at this point. I would have given up. I would have given up and just be like, I'm gonna go code for that company again. Take it easy. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So A minus, depending on what they're getting graded on. B minus type. So yeah. Skyhook developed
Mhm.
pretty cool technologies. The next statement that has gotten lots of positive feedback. Put yourself in the shoes of Ted Morgan. Why the lack of sales? So, uh, my main thought on that one is that they did develop such a cool and impressive technology. I feel like a lot of the companies they went to, it was like, oh, you're a startup? Oh, I bet I can put your technology in the project I'm working on for 100,000 bucks and I'll own it and we'll be done. So I feel like they went to a lot of companies and the company just said, yeah, meet with the project manager over here. And then they showed up and they're like, oh, shoot, you've developed something better than we've developed. Let me get my boss. And I feel like it was just like, yeah, there's two guys that have defeated our entire location, um, our location services branch. They've developed something better than our R&D has come up with. And you should probably talk to them.
Mhm.
Kind of like,
No, I can see that too. Yeah, just having having the right person in front of you that can make those types of decisions. And then again, when the case references, well, what person within the company, what person within the organization or the department, which department is it that's supposed to own this type of technology? There wasn't really a clear definition on who to sell to. And then a lot of the companies that they were proposing to, and a lot of the companies that they actually got into, they weren't really they weren't like a differentiator that made the product great. I mean, like you could kind of sort of tell that this product was, a reason why they were successful, but it wasn't a huge contributor to the success of the overall application or program. So I think that was kind of a big deal for most people. They didn't have a good track record of success, which I think contributed to them not being able to sell to some of these larger companies. And they had no customer base. So
a lot of people, I think it mentioned the whole chicken before the egg type thing, and everyone's like, this is great. Who's using it? Well, you guys, if you buy. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not. Come back after you've sold to somebody else and we're not your guinea pigs.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I feel like the lack of sales was definitely not for lack of trying. They were definitely out there doing their best, but it was just a lot of different things of like coming from a startup. It was something hard for a lot of these companies to invest in, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So the next is just review the deals below and describe the proposed deal, outcome, and lesson learned. I don't know if you have that pulled up, but it kind of just has a little chart. Microsoft proposal, outcome, lessons learned. I guess with Microsoft, the proposal event initially was pretty straightforward. Give us $300,000 right now, and then pay us for every unit that uses it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the outcome was they all but had it, but then it fell through for an unknown reason.
Yeah, I couldn't. The case didn't really state why it fell through. It just said that it fell through.
Yeah.
But they did offer them $100,000 for it.
Yeah, I think $100K with no royalties is kind of what they said.
Yeah, essentially gives up. We'll pay you $100,000 for use of the product, and that's it.
Yeah.
Which for Microsoft, that's peanuts.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting too. That a lot of these companies, and maybe VC money has like changed the way I view maybe other companies don't spend the way VC industries do. But in my mind, it's like 300 and royalties. Ooh, that's too much. I'm like, aren't these VCs dropping like 10 million? No questions asked. Like 10 million. What do you got? You got an idea? I gave 15.
Was it? So was it Qualcomm? Qualcomm bought out Navtech for almost $1 billion, or was it $1 billion?
Was it that much?
It was an astronomical amount, which is why they didn't end up getting a deal with Qualcomm, because Qualcomm couldn't stomach the fact that they just spent that huge amount of money on a location service, and they had to supplement that service with another location service.
Yeah.
So
I think, was it Nokia that had a similar thing? But I thought Nokia spent, was it $8 billion? Maybe that's what was it that high? I thought Nokia only spent like I thought it was million.
Let's see.
Should tens of millions.
8 billion.
That's when I definitely misread then. I read that as million, and I thought Qualcomm's feeling like they can't make another purchase because they spent 8 million. Yeah.
No, it was Nokia. It said Nokia aspired to earn an increasing share of its profits from applications and services rather than hardware sales. Instead, it spent $8 billion to acquire Navtech.
Yes.
So they didn't get the Nokia deal because of the Navtech.
Beat them to it, basically.
That position.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I misread that one. I read that as million and thought, really? Nokia's like, we can't spend another 8 million. We just did that. I'm like, I thought these were peanuts to these companies, but 8 billion is a little bit less of a peanut.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of money. That's for sure.
Which is too bad, because to a degree, this Skyhook kind of can do the same thing that the Navtech was offering, as far as I could tell. So it's like, had you just come first, you could have maybe sold for $8 billion.
for a fraction of the cost too. It
Yeah.
would have been a win-win for both
Yeah, they
companies.
could have said, give us $2 billion and we'll all be happy. So yeah, so the Nokia kind of, yeah, somebody else beat them to it, kind of. Microsoft, it kind of just fell through for an unknown reason. And then the third one there is that E911 service, which was the VoIP, the voice over internet.
Hmm.
And it sounded like that was going to become law and then didn't. So then,
Yeah, it wasn't mandated by the FCC, so
yeah,
they kind of got just set on the back burner,
yeah,
which is kind of interesting to me. I mean, you think that if you're a voice over IP company, and it's kind of widely known now that when you call 911 on voice over IP, you don't actually get 911. You get kind of
yeah,
an intermediary service. It's not that good. So you'd think that you'd want to supplement that. You could use it as a something to say, hey, we've got this service which is actually better than traditional 911 services. So
hmm,
anyway, but yeah, they didn't get that because it wasn't mandated, and so they set it on the back burner while they worked other apparently larger issues.
yeah. Which I also think is interesting because they proved that they could do it. So I did feel like that was interesting. It's like people can't really call 911 with VoIP. Oh, it's not law. It's not required by law anymore, though. Yeah, get out of our office. We're working on other
Yeah,
things. Like, seems like an
exactly.
important thing calling 911. But yeah, I thought that was interesting as well. That it was just not required by law anymore. Oh, we thought it was going to be. Yeah, you guys can go. Your services are no longer required. Oh, so yeah, and then I guess lessons learned. Do you have insight on lessons learned with any of those proposals, Microsoft E911 or Nokia?
So I would say Microsoft. The only thing that I could come up was maybe they were a little bit too aggressive with their proposal.
Okay.
Um, maybe they should have gone a little bit more for, less of a um, an introductory price, so less money up front, and then push the long term, the
Yeah.
subscription side of it. E911, there really isn't a whole lot of lesson to learn from that. I mean, it was just a failed proposition.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about. I mean, the Microsoft U came up with a good one, but that's kind of how I felt about all three of them. Like lessons learned, do better next time. Like,
Yeah, Nokia is a little bit different though because it said. I mean, they did have some. Ultimately, I think it was the Navtech acquisition that kind of
yeah,
was the last straw that broke the camel's back. But um, in the case, it also says that during the Nokia discussions, they talked to several different organizations, and there were different organizations for different product lines and different organizations for different software developments. And so it was really tough for them to find the person who would actually own this implementation. So they weren't selling to the right person. It was kind of like, they were kind of just presenting to whomever would listen, really. So I think they needed to lesson for that one would be to get in front of the person who's actually going to make the decision,
yeah,
regardless of how many demonstrations you have to do, and make sure that that person has the authority to, make the sale happen.
yeah. That's good. But yeah, that's definitely not something I thought of, but is a clear lesson and one that they should think of when Apple, Steve Jobs, gave him a call himself. Kind of. Yeah, that's a good point. That's they finally made it to the one person that could make a decision. Like in that company, he said, "Yeah, we're getting these guys."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll admit I was at a loss for lessons learned. Apparently, I'm not one to learn from failures as well. So the next is who benefits from technology, from the technology? What problem does it solve? Who has this problem? Do the business decision makers in the companies above feel the pain that this solution solves? I feel like that last question is kind of what you pointed out, that it solves a lot of
Mm-hmm.
problems, but the decision makers don't really feel the pain because the software guys or the hardware
Yeah.
guys like, no, we got GPS in there. And he's not really caring about he's not the finance guy that's like, well, this is a lot cheaper than GPS. So it's kind of that mix that
Yeah.
nobody really feels the pain because the finance guy's like, well, does this work as good as GPS? He's like, yeah, it does. How can it? It's so much cheaper.
Yeah, so I mean, they did say that GPS chips cost between $3 and $5.
Hmm.
Um, so really, they're if they charge 30 cents to $1 per unit, that's really, I mean, that saves them quite a bit. So I
Yeah.
mean, the business makers and the company could potentially feel. I mean, I can't say that they feel the pain because I mean they can charge a higher multiple for a
Yeah.
product that has GPS versus one that doesn't. So they're not losing money, that's for sure. But I think that they could potentially realize some gains if they were to go with this solution as opposed to a GPS solution. But I will say that I mean you can if you're not next to a Wi-Fi um, hotspot, then this doesn't work. Then you'd have to have a backup, which would net. I mean, it would be your GPS.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you know, is this technology, is that how location services work? Is it using Wi-Fi hotspots like that nowadays,
Yeah.
or
Yep.
yeah? I didn't know that.
Most of them.
I just
Yeah,
assumed it
Android
had a
uses
GPS
it.
chip in it. So,
Most of the operating systems, I didn't see Apple's on there that use location services, but they do have their own. Because I mean, if you pull up Google, your advertisements they're going to be targeted to you,
yeah.
your
And I knew
location.
that, but I guess I didn't know that it was just simply kind of, I guess I didn't know it was as accurate as GPS, and that it's like, right now it knows I'm in my kitchen because it's like, all right, your GPS is the strongest. I mean, your Wi-Fi is the strongest, but your neighbor's on the left is this, neighbor's on the right is
Mm-hmm.
this. So you're probably, I guess I just thought, all right, he connected to that one, which means he's right here. I didn't know it could really give like a, so I thought if I threw myself on a hotspot, it was using the GPS, but it's basically, yeah, I learned a lot about just the simple kind of the technology, location services, and didn't know it worked that way, I guess, which was interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, and I guess for moving forward, it kind of had the three options at the end of it. What strategy option do you favor? It had the local ads, sell the company, or persevere.
I'd go with the local advertisements.
So did I.
Yeah, most of the revenue on the internet is advertisement revenue. I mean, essentially, it is. You look at the Googles of the world, the MSN. Um, they're information based, which means they have to have a huge amount of customers to be able to sell the data to advertisers, but it's all advertisement based. I mean, you open up any web page and there's a million different advertisements on this web page. Anywhere there's a blank spot, there's going to be an advertisement there. So
yeah, I agree. I thought the local ads, it seems like almost, I mean, every major business that's kind of appeared in the last little while, that's what got them their money to start. Facebook, Amazon,
yeah,
a lot of, information based stuff. Google, like you said. So yeah, a lot of them just like, yeah, let's just give our services away for free, lose a lot of money for a long time, and then all of a sudden make a lot of money. So yeah, and I feel like that was their main problem, was that they didn't have people that wanted to commit. They're like, it's only 30 cents a unit, but what if yours isn't that good, or what if it's this or that? It's just like, hey, we're going to give it to you for free. Look at this. It tells you where your device is. It's yours for free, but we get to track all that data, and we can sell that data to anyone we want to, type thing. It's like, okay. Like, yeah, I feel like that's what companies would have gone for quickly. So it looks like convince everyone in your group that you have the right plan. So with a group of two that we both feel like local ads was the best, I guess we're pretty good at the convincing part.
well, so the one caveat to the local ads is that they would have to kind of restructure the business. They do have, I think that they've got a good team. They've definitely got the engineering staff that can kind of handle the shift to whatever the operational changes of the product would have to take on. Resources, they said they had about 8 or 9 months worth of cash before they went to the next round of financing. And then the business model, they'd have to update the business model too.
Yeah.
They'd have to because right now they're marketing to companies as a means to, or they're marketing to the Nokias and the Microsofts and the Apples of the world. They're not, advertising to,
Local
the small developers and the advertisers, that sort of thing. So they'd have to update the business model a little bit.
Yeah. Was there 8 or 9 months of cash? Was that if they kept mapping out things, or is that if they stopped?
No, that's if they kept mapping. If they stopped, they could.
They said they cut it down by like 60%.
Burn rate by like 50%. Yeah.
So that would double that 8 to 9 to like almost a year and a half. I mean, over a year and a half. Which I feel like if they needed to, I feel like maps wouldn't degrade that quickly. So I feel like if they needed to, swap over the local ads and kind of switch their business, I feel like they would be in a pretty good position to just kind of say, let's stop updating our maps for, 6 months, 1 year. It's like our service will still be fine and our burn rate will double. And then they would have time to kind of, all right, we've had 12 months giving our product away for free. Now let's start making money with it and start re-updating our maps. But maybe that would set them back too far. But in my mind, I mean, I had a GPS that didn't come with map updates, and I used it for like 3 years, and it never did anything bad to me. I felt like I don't feel like infrastructure updates that quickly. So, but all right. And then as a group, prepare an agenda for your call with Steve Jobs. So it says, number 1, what is your BATNA? BATNA.
It's a good question because I don't really know exactly. So even in the prep work, I couldn't come up with a really good answer to that question because it doesn't seem like they have necessarily the best offer. So if they agree to start paying for access to Apple's customer database, then they kind of take on an additional cost without having a means of revenue immediately. So they increase their burn rate. But if they try to sell their service to Jobs, one of the things that Jobs really wants to do is to have control over all of the core technologies that go into the product. So is he going to pay for that, or is he going to want to acquire it?
Yeah.
So as far as my BATNA, I think I would just, I think I would probably try to sell the service to Jobs. But if he wanted an alternative to the negotiation, I think I would probably, or I would sell it with a subscription attachment, but I would probably be ready to give up the attachment and just sell it on a per phone basis of like 30 cents to $1.
Yeah.
Kind of the same terms as Nokia, and just give it, if you accept the 30 cents per phone, then you get the location services for, in perpetuity for the phone.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's kind of how I felt. It's kind of like, well, if you take the lessons you learned in these other appointments, it's that you had too many lessons. Meetings, you met with too many people, and it just slowly kind of fizzled out. It's like, I have a lot of negotiating power at this one. I felt like it was kind of if you want to go one direction, then pretty much you're probably going to take any offer that's placed out there. Because it's like, you've got kind of the 3 options. Yeah, sell and just acquire. So like, okay, we'll sell the company. We're just part of Apple's, conglomerate now, and we'll work for Apple. Try to get that 30 cent a phone, and because that's what I went with. Yeah, that's I think what I'd shoot for. Like, let's just do you pay us 30 cents a phone. We'll slowly, for the next year, and then next year it'll be 40 cents, just to help us keep up our costs, and we'll keep the maps updated and keep everything live and active for as long as any of those phones are working, type thing. But other than that, I feel like if they weren't wanting to accept any of those, they don't have any negotiating power. So if Jobs came at them with something they didn't like, then they would just basically have to walk. Just like, okay, we'll go with the advertisement and keep our because they don't have like, well, here's our counter offer. It's like, okay, get out of my office. You have, I made my offer, get out of here. Yeah, they just don't have any power in this negotiation, I feel.
It doesn't seem like it. I mean, they do have some patents.
That's true. I
Kind
forgot
of
to
act
do
as
that.
barriers to entry. They do have some proprietary algorithms that kind of. I mean, if their approach to the location services issue is better than Google's,
Yeah.
they might have something. They might be able to say, well, yeah, but ours is more accurate. But is it accurate enough to make a difference? You know, in most cases, I would say no. Because, I mean, really, how accurate does it have to be?
Yeah.
A couple 100 yards, maybe?
Because if one of
Really?
that GPS algorithms kind of say, all right, he's traveling 40 miles per hour, headed straight. I'm telling him to turn in 3 miles. If I lose him, I'm just going to keep track, pretend he keeps going 40 miles per hour, and keep my map and adjust when I catch him. If I catch him in a different spot, then I guess I'll readjust. But yeah, it basically says, yeah, I'll keep pretending that he's here until I know that he's there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, because, I mean, and that's the thing. I feel like they can definitely make sure to sell, like to point out all the things they have. Like, this is what we've got. We've got these algorithms. We've got these patents. Ours is this much better. But it's like if Jobs says, perfect, that is worth $1 million to me. They can't really come back like, well, we were hoping for 1.2, because it's like, yeah, but it's worth $1 million. So that's what I'm on. So, yeah, they can do their best to make sure they make it clear what they have. But I feel like as long as they do that, they don't really have a counter offer unless they withhold information in the first place. It's like, that's worth $1 million. Well, it also does this. It's like, why didn't you tell me that up front? So, yeah.
So it brings us to the next question: what are Jobs' interests, and why did he call? So I kind of doubt that he personally would have called if he didn't see some major advantage.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, he may be able to find a workaround. You may have the best solution to the problem, but it may not be enough. You've got to kind of price yourself in that sweet spot where you're the best, but it's still worth it to us to say, hey, we have the best solution installed on our phones, and the customers are going to be willing to pay for that, because ultimately the price just gets kind of pushed on the customer anyway. So, you know, how much can we add to the cost of the phone with this service?
Yeah, that is a good point, because, I mean, Jobs probably wasn't making a lot of these calls to these startup companies in my mind, because they just had so many people working for him. So that is a good point, that it would be hard to kind of decide your asking price as Skyhook, because you'd have to think like, he clearly wants it. He is interested in it, so he wants it, which makes it a little bit more valuable. But at the same time, he's in a position where it's like he knows how much he could create, how much he could spend for the alternative. It's like, all right, we could do this with 1 year at $5 million, and we would have 100% control. I'm not willing to do over $2 million to these guys, since we're paying control, since we're losing control. Like, we get it time-wise, but yeah, in their mind, they have to think, 2 guys did this in their basement initially. I'd like to think that we can hire people that can do this as well. So, but then it comes to the patents and this and that. So, yeah, it puts them in an awkward position. It's like they get one shot at it, and if they overbid, then they're not getting it. If they underbid, that's unfortunate, because, yeah, if Steve Jobs asked, like, what's it worth? I would be like, how much do you want to pay? Like, it's a very nice, terrible situation that they find themselves in at this moment, I feel.
So as far as the agenda, I would say first and foremost, they're going to use it for targeted advertisements. Almost certain that's what they're going to use it for. So we would need to have the amount of money typically spent on targeted advertisements in general, on their platforms. And the case does state that a targeted advertisement generally is worth 2 to 3 times more than just a regular blanket advertisement. So proposing it in those terms, saying with our service installed on your phones, you can now target advertisements and make 2 to 3 times more. And our service is more accurate. Therefore, you're going to be able to advertise to your advertisers that you have the most accurate advertising or location service on the market, and you can target specific locations and areas for marketing, and I would suggest that maybe we take the percentage of that ad revenue instead of having him pay for it. Install the service on the phone for free, and then ask for a portion of the ad revenue generated. So you could say, well, you can charge more money for the ad revenue, give us a portion of the money of the increase. So they're not really taking a hit. They're making more money. They're getting the service for free, and all they do is they pass a percentage of the profit.
Yeah, a portion of the increase I think is pretty hard to pass on, because it's like, oh, that means we have zero skin in this. If your service ends up not making us more money, you guys don't make money. So
exactly, you discontinue the service, and they don't have to really do much of anything else.
Yeah,
kind of as simple as that. Kind of gives them a good exit if things don't work out. The potential to make a whole lot more money if things do work out. So I think it's a win-win for both parties.
I am curious if anyone does targeted advertising to the degree that this is more accurate. Because like it said, this is accurate to within feet, it made it sound like, whereas GPS is accurate within, like it said, depending if you're in a big city, it could be as much as a couple hundred yards off. So I wonder if there's any business that's like, I want to advertise to the people in that park that I have a lemonade stand over here. Like, as opposed to the people in this 1 mile circle, I want to advertise to the people in that part. I wonder if anyone cares to target that accurately. That's kind of where the other thing comes to, though, where it's like, does it need to be that accurate?
So the case does actually say that, let's see here.
Did it say something about that?
Let's see. Get it. So accuracy, GPS. So in the dense urban and moderate indoors, they're between 68 to 95% below. So that means it's 1,158 meters.
Oh,
that's pretty substantial.
That's pretty substantial. I definitely did not. I'll admit, I did not look at the exhibits as closely as I should have. Or is that where you said that is? That's down in the exhibits?
Yeah, which is almost 3,800 feet, which is like what, 3/4 of a mile?
Yeah, that's like 3/4 of a mile.
Pretty substantial. So I mean, it does allow, a GPS-based location service versus a Wi-Fi location service. The Wi-Fi is going to be far better, almost to the degree of 3/4 of a mile. So
that's a good point, because that means if you do get on your location service device and somebody just types in, I want the closest place to eat, if it thinks you're 3/4 of a mile down in a busy city, then you've just passed 8 places to eat theoretically, as opposed to if it pulls you up closest place is that one right across the street. It's like, oh, so that I guess I didn't see the 1158 meters. I did not notice that that's pretty far.
So but in the rural and suburban areas, it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, I see that.
So, where there isn't a good Wi-Fi signal. They could be GPS is within like 90 feet, and it's kind of opposite to the other.
Yeah. So, but I guess how far off can Wi-Fi get though at the same time? Because I feel like it's either a 0. I'm surprised that it kind of has that line area because I feel like Wi-Fi should either be 0. If you don't have Wi-Fi, I can't tell you where you're at. But at the same time, it's like my Wi-Fi signal only goes so many yards, I feel, outside my house, so many meters. So it's like if I'm on a farm and I drive past the farm, I feel like that location service now knows where I'm at. And as soon as I pass the farm, it doesn't.
It's 300 feet. And basically, so this is more geared towards urban areas where GPS isn't as good. So like you're Idaho, right?
Yeah.
So I would say Idaho is probably going to be more rural.
Yeah.
So as opposed to like New York, LA, Atlanta, those sort of places where a GPS signal is going to be obstructed. Because if it doesn't have a direct line of sight to the device, it doesn't work.
That's fair. And maybe that's why in my mind I've had difficulty thinking like, is this really more accurate? Because in my mind, when I open up my Wi-Fi, I click on it, and there's usually 2 options, maybe 3, as opposed to if you're in a major city, you might click up yours and you're scrolling. All right, where's my GPS?
Right.
Where's my Wi-Fi?
I mean, you think of going through a city, those high-rise buildings, each company, each house is going to have their own Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Or they might have a group Wi-Fi, but they're not going to have more than, a few hundred people on it. So there's going to be thousands, literally thousands, maybe tens of thousands, even millions of different Wi-Fi connections in a city with, 15, 20 million people in it. Yeah. There's going to be a million different Wi-Fi hotspots. Every Starbucks has one. Yeah. Every restaurant has one. So, I mean, there's going to be plenty of Wi-Fi hotspots to ping off of. As soon as even if they're password protected, you can still get a reading.
Who knows how strong the signal is. Yeah, I definitely thought that part of it was the cool idea where it kind of pointed out, it's like, you don't have to be connected to make this work. Because that was their initial idea. It's like, we got to join with somebody. So we got these Wi-Fi spots everywhere that people can get on. It's like, oh, wait, you don't have to get on. So, so who should pay? Will Apple Pay to get it onto their device? Oh, will Apple pay you? How much? Yes. We kind of went over that in that, I think to give it away for free and say, we'll take a portion of your revenue, because theoretically it should definitely increase their revenues. Mm-hmm. So their profit on the advertising. Then the last question is just how big of opportunity is this for Skyhook?
It kind of depends on how you look at it, though. I mean, we don't have the numbers to give concrete, this is how much it is. But I mean, it could be millions, could be billions if they do the advertising. Yeah. If they just do the cost of the 30 cents per device, 30 cents to $1 per device, it ranges anywhere from 22.5 million up to 75 million.
Yeah.
And that's per year based on selling 5 million laptops, 60 million iPods, and 10 million iPhones. And of course, from what we know now, that is pretty conservative numbers in today's market. So, if we went by today's numbers, we'd see a much different numbers. Could be a huge opportunity. I mean, these guys could be worth a huge amount of money. Yeah. Especially, I mean, even if they went after Android and Apple. Mm-hmm. They make quite a bit.
Yeah, but 30 cents per iPhone made today, you'd be a pretty healthy company, I have to think.
Oh yeah, it'd be very healthy. So, needless to say, this is a huge opportunity, one that they definitely don't want to oversell or undersell. So it's going to be a big. I would definitely do a lot of prep work if I was Ted.
Yeah, for sure. I can't remember. I think Steve Jobs kind of wanted the phone call / meeting pretty soon, though, didn't he? I can't remember what time frame he gave. Did it say that in the case?
I didn't catch that actually.
Rotate counterclockwise. I feel like it was right at the end, maybe. Ted considered. Oh no, it said he returned his call. He was polite. He requested a meeting the following week. So I mean, they'd have to act. I mean, they got a week to basically. It's a good thing they learned early on how to burn, midnight oil, and because they probably should be researching about 20 hours a day for the next week, basically, just and sleep as much as they can before but just because, yeah, they undersell and it's going to cost them millions. And if they oversell, they don't have enough power to like get him to accept the job if he knows all the information. Yeah, if they present all the information and say, and we won't accept anything lower than this. It's like, all right, thanks for the proposal. I'm not going to pay that. Take it easy. Like, we might accept lower than that. Maybe we were too strong. So, yeah, I feel like it's a huge opportunity if they want to kind of go it in such a way that they would not quite merge with Apple, but I feel like they would. It's a huge opportunity if they're willing to not be as autonomous as they are today. Because I feel like the alternative is just to go it on their own, do the local ad thing, and they could, and as you said, that could potentially be a multi-billion-dollar company as well if they were just the number one choice for location for targeted advertising became Skyhook. That would be one of the number one companies. So it's like it's a huge opportunity if they want to go that route. If it's not, honestly, they might be able to do more without joining with Apple, because without joining with Apple, they can market to everyone. So,
right.
Yeah, I feel like it's a huge opportunity. If that's the route they want to take, then it's their best option at this point.
Yep. So. That's kind of how I feel too.
Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, I think we kind of, I'll find where we kind of started a summary there. I'll stop the video. But I think we kind of had one. Oh, that's the wrong thing. I stopped my video. Let me make this full screen and stop the recording.